So Elephants in the Room, Ken LaCorte made a video called Did Jews Steal Palestine? So I haven't seen this video yet, but I'm already getting very bad vibes from this video because the people in the comment section are basically pro-Israel and they're saying some really bad arguments. And one of the dumbest arguments that they keep making is that Palestine was renamed by the Romans as a way of punishing them. I don't really care what the hell they called it. Indians don't call India India. At least they didn't call it that historically. Hindus called it Bharat. Japanese people don't call Japan Japan. They call it Nippon. So I don't really care about the name of the country. They could call it whatever the hell they want. That's not important. That's a dumb argument that Jews make. The other dumb argument that I've been seeing is that there are some Jews who are saying that Jews from Arab countries have been expelled right at the same time that Israel was created. This is a lie. Jews, Ashkenazi Jews, were actually the ones who bombed Arab Jews in Iraq and framed Muslims for it. This was done by the Stern Gang. You can look up the Stern Gang on Wikipedia. They are a Jewish terrorist group. They were the ones responsible for the expulsion of Jews from Arab countries because they committed terrorist attacks against them and framed Muslims for it. This entire article, which by the way, this website, MondoWise, this is a Jewish news website. So I'm going to link all the citations in the description. So I haven't seen this video yet, but like I said, I have some really bad vibes about it, but let's just watch it. But I thought it was important to preempt all those bad arguments before they're ever made.
Did Jews steal Palestine? It's a conflict that so many people argue about, and I've heard activists on both sides make statements that just sounded off. But I realized...
So this is a appeal to moderation fallacy. It's when you think that the truth is somewhere in the middle. That's not necessarily true. The truth can sometimes be a true dichotomy or a true binary.
I realized that I didn't really understand the history of how it began. And when you hear...
Well, you know, if you think something's off before you even study the history of it, then maybe you should wait until you actually study the history of it.
The arguments about it, they all have this element of, yes, but before that, this happened. So it's a long history, and it's understandable to be confused.
Okay, well, if we're going to go there, then I'm just going to point out that ancient Israelites weren't Jews. Ancient Israelites were polytheistic, and they worshipped a pantheon with various gods and goddesses. I'm going to say that one more time. Ancient Israelites were not Jews. Ashkenazis are not descended from ancient Israelites.
Confused. I decided to start at the beginning of recorded human history and see what I could learn. I'm Ken LaCorte.
Okay, well, I started at the beginning. Ancient Israelites were not Jews.
My deal here is that I find a question I find interesting, research it, and do my best to present it to you as fairly as I can manage. And this is one of the most complicated and argued over stories in human...
It's actually not complicated. Jews from Europe made up a bunch of lies to steal land that didn't belong to them in the Middle East. Zionism was just an Ashkenazi separatist movement. I made an entire video about that. We might watch a little bit of this later, but I just want to just point that out right from the start. Jews from Europe are not from the Middle East. Anyone could convert and become a Jew. And while conversion to Judaism is uncommon today, it wasn't always like that. Conversion to Judaism was actually outlawed implicitly by the Romans after the failed Bar Kokhba revolt by Jews. They outlawed it implicitly by making circumcision illegal, which made conversion to Judaism impossible or impractical because it required circumcision.
Human history.
But I need to point out that before then, conversion to Judaism was very common. So anyone can convert and become a Jew. Okay, all Ashkenazis actually are just Italians that converted to Judaism.
So here's what I learned about how both Jews and Arabs came to believe that the world...
Okay, so that already, I can already tell you that that is a really horrible way to start out with. He's assuming incorrectly that Arabs and Jews are mutually exclusive things when they are not. Arabs were actually Jews before Ashkenazis even existed. I'm even gonna show you right now that Itamar Ben, there he is. He's actually an Iraqi Arab. And there you go. He was born in Jerusalem to parents from Iraqi Kurdistan. It's saying Kurdistan here. I think maybe something was altered in his article because before it said he was an Iraqi Arab. But yeah, he's an Iraqi. He's an Iraqi. And he wasn't the only Arab that was a Jew. King Herod was a Jew on both sides. I don't have that queued up, but you can look that up. It's common knowledge, well established. So when you begin with the premise that Jews and Arabs are two different things, you're already beginning with an incorrect premise. Arabs were Jews before Ashkenazis even existed. They are not mutually exclusive things.
The world's most contested real estate is rightfully theirs. I also tried hard to make it digestible without dumbing it down, and I really believe that within 20 minutes, you're going to be a lot smarter about this whole thing. We'll start with the very beginning, that saw a lot of players from history converge into one place. Then we'll look at Britain's impossible balancing act after World War I, a history of partition, war, and displacement that followed, and how a Palestinian identity was born. So let's start as close to the beginning as we can. The land that we now call Israel, or Palestine, has been inhabited for over 10,000 years. Archaeological evidence shows hunter-gatherers living there in the Stone Age, followed by some of the world's first agriculture settlements. Jericho, one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities on Earth, was founded around 9000 BC. These weren't nations or kingdoms, they were more like scattered communities. By the Bronze Age, around 3000 BC, the land was called Canaan.
Let's speed this up a little bit because he is a little bit boring and just wasting too much time on like complete nonsense. How can I get a faster speed here? It won't let me do faster? Really? Why? This motherfucker like prevents it from being any faster? I guess so. Wow. That's the first time I ever saw that. All right, okay.
It was a patchwork of city-states and various peoples: Egyptians, Hittites, Assyrians, and
I didn't know that you could do that. I didn't know that you could prevent someone from making it faster. Why would he do that? He wants people to pay attention to his whole boring fucking video. It's over 18 minutes long. You have to allow people to want to speed it up if they want to speed it up. That's so selfish to insist that people aren't allowed to speed up your videos. And by the way, anyone watching this video, feel free to speed it up.
Babylonians. They all fought for control of it because of its trade routes. By around 1200 BC, the Bronze Age collapsed and the political map was once again redrawn. Out of that chaos, sometime around 1000 BC, Hebrew tribes emerged in the hill country of Canaan and began forming their own kingdoms. King David made Jerusalem his capital, and his son Solomon built the first temple there. That's how...
All right, like this is already giving me big ass red flags, okay? There's actually no good evidence that these people existed at all or that the first temple existed. This is biblical stuff. This is stuff from the Torah, part of the Old Testament. And this can't be independently verified. But what can be independently verified is King Herod, who was an Arab on both sides.
How the city became sacred for Jews. But Jewish rule didn't last long. Their kingdoms fell and they were exiled. Persia took over next and let the...
So, like, oh, again, like, this is bad because ancient Israelites weren't Jews. Like, he didn't even mention that. He did not mention anything about how ancient Israelites were not Jews. And he was talking about Hebrew this, Hebrew that. Ancient Israelites did not speak Hebrew. They spoke an ancient Semitic language, but it was not Hebrew. Holy shit, this guy's an idiot. Your research is terrible, man.
Jews return and rebuild, Then came the Greeks, the Romans, then the Byzantines. Each empire left behind language, culture, and architecture. After crushing two major Jewish revolts, the Romans renamed the province from Judea to Syria Palestina.
So I hate this argument. So I addressed this earlier. He's trying to imply that Palestine is not the quote unquote correct name of the region. That is moronic. Like I pointed out, Japanese people do not call Japan Japan. That's an English word. They call it Nippon. Okay? I don't care what the name is. If they want to call it the land of douchebags, then that's up to them. They're the indigenous people there. I don't care about the fucking name. I care about the people living there. What a moron.
Some historians say it was intended as an insult, meant to erase the Jewish identity. But in any event, Jewish sovereignty essentially ended there for almost 2,000 years. By the 600s, Muslim armies came in, bringing the Arabic language and Islamic rule. Jerusalem gained the Dome of the Rock and the Al-Aqsa Mosque, which are holy to Muslims as the site of...
So here he glosses over a major fact. The people, the Jews who were living in this land, converted to Islam, okay, and other religions as time went on. They converted to Christianity eventually, and they converted to Islam. Okay, but the people did not change. The people living in Palestine today are the descendants of the Jews who lived in this land. And this moron's not saying that, but he's implying it, but he's not saying it. And that's a really important thing to point out. The Jews converted to other religions.
Muhammad's night journey. For centuries, Islam defined the region with small groups of Christians and Jews still in the mix. Then came the Christian Crusaders.
Yeah, because they converted to Islam, you moron.
Who captured Jerusalem and slaughtered thousands, only to lose it again to Saladin. The Ottomans took it over in the early 1500s and ruled it for the next 400 years. By the 1800s, the Holy Land was really a little corner of the Ottoman Empire. It was rural, poor, mostly Arab. It was roughly 80 to 95% Muslim, with small Christian and Jewish communities. There was no independent Palestine, no Jewish state, and no national borders, just one big empire that was starting to have trouble. In 1915, at the beginning of World War I, Britain encouraged the Arabs to rise up against the Turks to help defeat the crumbling Ottoman Empire, and promised to back their independence after the war. Actually, during the war, Britain promised the same land to 3 different groups: Arabs, French, and Jews. Soon, though, the Ottoman Empire did...
Promising it to Jews makes no sense. Okay, like he pointed out, there was no Jewish state. That doesn't really make much sense. He would have had to, like, there were Ottoman Jews too. There were Ottoman Jews, and guess what? The Ottoman Jews supported the Armenian Genocide. And it says so right here. I'm going to post a link to all of these citations. Ottoman Jews supported the Armenian Genocide. So talking about how they promised it to Jews makes no sense. Did they promise it to Ottoman Jews? They supported the Ottoman Empire, you idiot. They are not a distinct entity that has a nation. So it doesn't make any sense.
Fall apart, and Britain took over during the war. For Britain, it would turn out to be an impossible balancing act. And in 1917, they made perhaps the most famous promise of all, the Balfour Declaration. It pledged support for a national home.
He's not pointing out how the Rothschilds were the ones who pushed for this, and they used their immense wealth. The Rothschilds are Jews, and they amassed an enormous amount of wealth by engaging in usury. And he's not saying that, because of course he's not going to say that. And they used that wealth to compel, to put pressure on the British to establish a Jewish state for European Ashkenazi Jews. This was very much part of the age of colonialism, the scramble for Africa. And he hasn't said a word about Theodor Herzl, who was the founder of Zionism and was an atheist. He didn't say a word about that yet, and I don't think he is going to say anything about that.
For the Jewish people. It also vowed to protect the civil and religious rights of existing non-Jewish communities. Now, Britain had various political reasons to do it, and the declaration excited Zionists, and it horrified local Arabs. For the first time, a major
Probably not, actually, because there were Jews who were living in these Arab countries already. They never left. This is a terrible video. This is filled with Zionist propaganda garbage. I'm fact checking this in real time. I have never seen this video before, and I'm already repulsed by what I'm seeing and hearing.
power publicly promised the area to one group, and in doing so, it came face to face with an unsolvable problem. The League of Nations gave Britain the mandate to govern the
Promised it to one group. Yeah, because they're stealing it from people who are already living there, you moron. I don't think I'm going to watch this entire video because I'm already like just so disgusted with this garbage. But let's go a little bit longer.
land and to turn that vague national home into reality while somehow keeping Arab majorities calm. The Jewish National Fund and other Zionist groups began buying tracts of land in Ottoman and later British Palestine. Now, they did it legally according to Ottoman and later British law. They often bought the land from absentee Arabs or Ottoman landlords, and they paid a lot of money for it. They called it aliyah, literally a...
Oh my God. He just glossed over that. He's implying that it's okay to steal land by buying it. That's not how it works, you moron. It doesn't matter if you buy land in the Ottoman Empire or even in Palestine. Okay, you can't annex it. You stupid fuck. Okay, that would be like if China bought up land in America, which it did, and it does. China owns tons of land in America, but it can't annex it. Okay, it can't install its own military and police and then run its own courts, write its own laws, and then enforce it with its police, and then guard its borders with its military. It can't do that without declaring war. You stupid idiot. Okay, China owns tons of land in America. What, you think that they're allowed to just then annex it after that? That's not how that works. So if Jews bought up land in the Ottoman Empire or in Palestine, they can't annex it and then rule it and write their own laws, you stupid fuck. Oh man, I'm almost done with this video already because it's filled with nothing but Jewish supremacist lies and Zionist propaganda. I'm so sick and tired of these morons.
absentee Arabs or Ottoman landlords, and they paid a lot of money for it. They
Oh, I'm
called
sure
it
they
aliyah,
did.
literally ascent, and it meant waves of immigrants who built new towns, including Tel Aviv. But for the Arabs already living there, the sight of newcomers buying land, fencing it off, and setting up self-contained settlements was frightening. The sales...
Yeah, kind of like what they're doing in Thailand right now because they know that Israel is dying from all the fucking lies. And this guy has obviously been paid off by Jewish supremacists, Jewish billionaires. Maybe Bill Ackman is one of the wealthy Jews that's funding this guy. I wouldn't be surprised because that's all they've been doing. They've been throwing money at social media influencers to spread propaganda and lies and gaslight people about this. Oh yeah, you can annex land by buying it. You stupid fuck. If that were the case, then we would be at war with China right now because they own tons of land in America. So does Saudi Arabia. For fuck's sake.
were legit. I mean, money was paid, deeds were signed, but to the local farmers, it being legal was well beside the point. For centuries, these Arab families
was well beside the point. Yeah, annexing land that doesn't belong to you is kind of the point. You can't annex it by buying it. All right, I'm done. I'm done with this stupid fuck because I don't need to sit through this garbage when it's just filled with propaganda and lies. And there's gonna be 18 minutes of this shit, and I can't even speed it up. No, no, thank you. We're already over 18 minutes in anyway. The stuff I recommend you guys read in addition, read about the Stern Gang. This is a Jewish terrorist group. These were the guys that blew up Arab Jews in Iraq and in other countries and framed Muslims for it. And this is what they try to say is the reason for, like, they try to say that Arab countries all expelled their Jewish populations after Israel was founded. Yeah, isn't the timing so convenient? No. Jewish terrorists, Ashkenazi terrorists, committed terrorist attacks against them and then framed Muslims for it. It's all in this article, which was written by Jews, by the way. Mondo Weiss was written by Jews. Zionism is an Ashkenazi thing. The other thing I recommend you read more about is Yahwism. Okay, ancient Israelites weren't even Jews. They weren't even Jews. I also recommend you read about King Herod. Okay. Turns out there's like a whole bunch of King Herods here. Great. Let's see. Arab. Yeah, he was an Arab on both sides. Thus, Herod's ethnic background was Arab on both sides of his family. It says it right there. But yet, this moron was treating Jews and Arabs as mutually exclusive things when they are not. So read about that. Also, read about how genetic markers cannot determine Jewish descent. Turns out there is no Jew gene. You cannot determine Jewish identity with a genetic test. Okay, these Jews in Europe are from Europe. They're just converts. They are people who converted to Judaism. And I got a citation for that as well. The surge of converts to Judaism in ancient Rome. All Ashkenazis were just Italians that converted to Judaism. That's it. So I'm going to post all these links in the description so you can read more about it, because I am tired of this fucker's lies incessantly. If I can't even get through 6 minutes of this garbage, then it's obviously not worth watching. If it's just filled with lies right from the beginning, you stupid fucking moron. And also read about how Ottoman Jews supported the Armenian Genocide. Like, they try to act like they're so opposed to genocide when Jews literally supported the Armenian Genocide. Your lies are coming apart, dude. Okay, we're not standing for this shit. I'm gonna write a few more comments. I'm gonna tell this guy that I responded to his video and pointing and exposing his lies. We'll see how well that works out, because I'm blacklisted. I'm shadow banned on YouTube. But this guy, well, he obviously isn't. He got over 217,000 views in just one day. Well, that's what Jewish money will do, won't it? Fuck this guy. He made another video a while ago about Jewish control of the media, and like that video was actually semi decent, but this video is complete garbage. What a disappointment this guy turned out to be. Fuck him.